Hello and welcome to today's video. So this time we're going to be having a look at my latest vintage paperback acquisitions and how I go through the process of cleaning them, tidying them up, getting them presentable so they can either go into my main collection or if they're doubles, I can put them into my swaps or trades pile. So I'll show you how exactly I clean them. Sometimes I polish them, rub them, repair them, get the dust off them, and I think you'll find it's quite an interesting little process. So that will be the subject of today's video. So sit back, relax, and let's get to it. Right then, so this is the first of what I hope will be a bit of a regular process, really. So every sort of month or 2 months or so, once I've had a batch of new paperbacks come my way, stuff that I found on my travels or has turned up in little collections or job lots, I tend to go through them bit by bit, sort them out, get them nice and tidy, and then we'll see exactly what's what. So something like this one turned up quite recently. I have actually already got a copy of this one. So this is just to go straight into my my swaps box, this Avengers book. Nice 60s one from the TV show. Absolutely love the Avengers, and I will do a whole video on the British and American Avengers paperbacks when I've quite got them all. I haven't quite got them yet, but I'm almost there. So that one, in actual fact, is actually in pretty nice condition. There's no rubbing or anything like that. So that one just needs a little sort of wipe over with a cloth, and that one will be fine. So I'm going to stick that one over there. This is another vintage penguin pelican book. I've got a few of these. I don't need many to finish the set now. This one's got a little bit of pencil that needs rubbing out. These wartime ones are incredibly scarce, so I have to treat them with kid gloves. It's got some spine damage there, but I'm probably just going to leave that as is, just because it's just not really worth getting this one repaired beyond what it already is, except I'll take that bit out in 1942. So I'll put that one there as one which needs the pencil rubbing out. This one here, another wartime pelican, and this one, I believe, yeah, this one's as well got a little bit of it's got a little bit of pencil in the front there that I'm going to need to rub out, so I shall do that. Archaeology of Palestine. This one's a little bit later, Pelican 199. It's not got any pencil in from what I can see, but there's a few pages that the page edge corners there, they sort of need to be folded over a little bit tidier. So I'll put that in a separate pile. So I've got it's a glossier cover, so I can put a bit of polish on that one and just shine up a little bit. That pile is for books that need the pencil rubbing out, and that one is just for corners. Here's a puffin book here, Wheel on the School. This is a late 40s, early 50s one by the look of it. Yeah, that one's, once again, it's got a bit of residue of pencil in there. It's a real nice puffin book from 1961, actually, this one. So that's got a bit of pencil which needs rubbing out, so that can go onto that pile. Edge, what a great series this is, this Western series. I really love these. Edge is a man alone. Now, once again, this is the better of the two copies that I've got, but even this one has got some dirt on the back there. The good thing is about this, the cover is shiny, which means it can be cleaned up with a bit of polish and that. So should be able to sort that bit out. Apart from that, well, it's got the book stamp inside. I'm not going to be able to do anything about that, and the sort of foxing, but I will be able to give that one a bit of a polish. So I'll pop that one over there. This one's a bit of a nasty one. Once again, I actually picked it up as a reader because I've never actually, at least not as an adult, read Brave New World. I seem to remember reading it as a kid, not really getting on with it. This copy looks fine. It's quite a nice, robust one, except at the top, it's got this sort of damage along the top there. Like you see, it's got water, like a water ripple. And it's got some sort of dirt along the top there. So that's one which is going to need a bit of a sort of a separate clean. So I'm going to put that one in a separate pile altogether. It's a Penguin crime book here, Rod of Anger, Penguin 1055. Now this one just needs the sort of the pages sorted out, so I'll put that one in there. This is I've got some 60s penguins. Now this one's got a bit of a This Franz Kafka book is actually quite scarce, this one, in Penguin First Edition, and it's got like a little bit of, not mould, but just sort of like surface residue. Really nice tight spines, probably unread, this one. So that one also needs the cover just going over, and also a little bit of rubbing out. I shall pop that one initially in the ones that we're going to sort of polish up. This one, Phoenix and the Carpet. Classic Puffin book here. Not too bad on first look. That one's actually fine. It's just going to need a bit of the top. So I'm going to start yet another pile over there. And they're ones which just need the sort of dust wiping off the top. This one's borderline. It was a recent pickup, Margaret Drabble. It's like a 60s Margaret Drabble. It's in sort of borderline if I even want to keep it at all, because it is so beaten up. There's nothing per se wrong with it. It's just worn. There's some pencil marks in there, so I'll put it on the ones to be rubbed out pencil wise, and then I'll maybe give it another going over. Another Pelican here, England in the 18th century. How's this one looking? Well, that is as good as it's going to get, so that one's pretty much fine. So that just needs the tops rubbing off. Another odd Pelican. I don't need many of those now to have the first 600 complete, which is quite nice. And that's absolutely fine. That one, that doesn't need any sort of work at all. Jean Rhys one, Good Morning Midnight. Nice, another nice, really nice 60s penguin. This one looks all right. I have a feeling, yeah, it doesn't really need anything going on it. I'll give it. It's got a little bit of pencil, paint pencil, and I give that one a rub down, and then I'll rub it out. A couple of penguin crimes here. Plunder of the Sun, and that one. That's pretty much okay as well. I mean, there's that tear on the cover. I'm not going to be able to do anything about that. It's got a scratch going down there, but once again, just going to leave that as is. This is an upgrade for one. It's one of the early post-war ones, so number 517. It's a big upgrade to the copy that I've got. Really, really nice copy of this one. I got it off eBay for a £5, so I was delighted with that. That one doesn't need anything except a rub along the top. I've got a couple of hardbacks now. Now, these are King Penguin hardbacks. Now, this is another one which was an upgrade to the one that I've already got. It's a King Penguin book. Now, I am planning to do a couple of videos on the King Penguins. I'm missing about a dozen to have the set. As soon as I've got them, and then I'm going to do a couple of videos. This particular one, Tulipomania, it recounts the story of the first boom and bust bubble, really, in Holland. And the tulip market was being sold, rare tulips were being sold, and the bulbs were being sold for fantastic sums until inevitably the bubble burst. Now I got this one, and I got this one here, another one which I've not got at all in my collection, and another rare King Penguin. And I got these off a chap off eBay, and they only cost me £5 and £6 for this one, which was really good. I couldn't believe it when I saw what he paid for it. Look, first edition scarce. £30 the guy paid for this one. Admittedly, to be honest, copies on eBay have been selling for about £15 a pop, so I did really well getting that for six quid. And this one, well, this is a bit more common, but once again, he paid £16 for it, which I was like amazed. I mean, he let me have it for a £5, and I was pleased to pay it because my copy of this book, which I read recently, in fact, is quite worn. So both of those have got pencil rubbings that need rubbing out. So we're going to put them onto that pile. Now this next one, absolutely fantastic penguin. I've not got any other copy of this one. It's the Penguin Heath Robinson. It's B format, so it's bigger than what you would see, but it's brilliant. It's a book of all his cartoons. But look, unfortunately, there's a whole section come out the front, and you can see the spines there is all sort of worn in that. So that one I'm going to leave to the very end, and I have a little plan to disassemble this and see if I can tidy it up and repair it. So that's going to be with that one. That's got a special process. Then just a couple more B format books. This one here, The Knotted Snark, and this is Lewis Carroll. And this one, once again, lovely condition, that one. Just is going to need a bit of a, because it's a later one, I can give that just a bit of a going over with the polish. And the very last one is once again another one that I've upgraded. This is the Penguin Book of the American Civil War. Now this was 12 and 6 when it was published, which was a lot of money. As you can see, it's got these, like, it almost looks like wax drops from a candle, possibly on the front. So I'm going to have a go and see if I can get those backdrops off. Apart from that, this is actually a really nice copy of what is an excellent book on the history of the American Civil War, and comes recommended. As I said, this is to go in my collection. I have already got a copy of this one, which I use as a reader. So I'm going to put that one in the to be cleaned pile. So there we are. So that's a look at all the books that I've actually got to clean up today. I'm now going to pause the video and we're going to start going through it bit by bit. So these were the ones which were absolutely fine. They just needed, there was not even any rubbing to be done on them. So they just needed the final touch. And so I try and do this now with all my books that I add to my collection. So I get a used toothbrush. And as you can see, there's a little bit of sort of dust on it, but it's soft. It's like it's got soft bristles. And what I do, I just rub it along the edge of the books like this. And it takes off any sort of top dust. Some of it, you see some came off then. Some of it you can't even see. Sometimes books will be, sometimes they'll be worse than others, but that just keeps the edges nice and clean, because if they've been on a bookcase for, some of these books are like 50, 60, 70 years old, sometimes more, some of those Pelicans, then they can pick up lots of dirt. So all these books kind of give the sort of dust off treatment. So that's those done anyway. The next thing, I wanted to do the rubbing out of these particular ones. Now, when I do rubbing outs, I tend to use a rubber like this one. So this is an artist's soft rubber. It's like it says high polymer. And you can just pick one of these up in an art shop. And I certainly have had this one for years. And it's been, a really trusty rubber, to be honest. One thing I would always recommend doing, if you've got a dirty edge there, is just sort of rub it on the table or on whatever you're working on, so that you've got a nice fresh edge. There we are. So it's like a clean edge of the rubber, ready to go into your book. All right. So I'm going to pause again, and I'm going to get these ready for a very gentle rub down. Right. So here we are. This is the copy of Tulipomania, that great king penguin, and unfortunately, this used to be a habit with book dealers. They would just, I suppose it would be better than putting a price sticker on, but these come off with varying degrees of success. As I said, I'm using this very soft rubber here to hopefully avoid causing any damage, because the last thing I want to do is mark the book and make it looking even worse than it was. One thing to try and do is to try and rub away from the page edge if possible, so that there's no chance of you bending the page in or folding it in accidentally. These king penguins probably aren't going to be too bad, because they've obviously come from a book dealer, and hopefully that book dealer, he used like a soft pencil. So these have actually come off quite easily, which is good news. But even so, the books these are from about 1950, and the last thing we want to do is damage them. There we are, that's come off quite nicely. Just have a little look on the other inside cover. Yeah, that's okay. Put that on the floor. Get the old Dyson out in a minute. And this one does come in a wrapper, so all the later king penguins come with their own wrapper. Big improvement on my own one, I have to say. But underneath, as is often the case, the books are virtually brand new. Like I say, having read this literally this week, it's a really, really interesting story. It really is. So that's Tulipomania. It's just the first king penguin done. And I'm very pleased with that one. Put the wrapper back on, and I do look forward to bringing you those couple of videos on the king penguins, because it's a great series. They are, I still believe, quite underrated. So pop that one over there. Now we got the other king penguin that I got, the Birds of La Plata. This is really scarce. This is one of those ones that is scarce, and it's not just penguin collectors who like these. It's also fans of what the actual subject is. So, people who are into birds per se and nature will want a copy of this one. So I'm just checking my rubber, and it's still nice and clean. So I should be able to just get ahead and gently do this one as well. And you're not marking or doing anything wrong with the book. All you're doing is getting it as near to when it was printed as possible. That's the way I look at it. It's funny, I still pull books out of my collection now, and they've got like a big 10p in or 20p, and I think, how did that ever make it into my collection without me sort of going over it like now and cleaning it? And, because I've been collecting since I was at school, I probably started collecting paperbacks with the Doctor Who books when I was about 6 or 7, I suppose, the Doctor Who Target books. And I've never really stopped. When I went to school, we had a really well-stocked school library, and I read so many things, and thankfully both my parents were big readers. So I borrowed all my mum's Agatha Christie's, and my dad, when I was a bit older, I started reading all the Ian Flemings, and he had a nice run of Dennis Wheatley's and quite a lot of genre fiction, which was brilliant, and that's what got me into books in general, really. I always had my love for sci-fi, but I never would have believed that I would have got into vintage paperbacks in quite the way that I have, and that started really with my love of Penguin and picking Penguin and Pan books up as a teenager, and never really looking back. The Pans, I only started collecting them because they were the James Bond Ian Fleming books were in Pan, and that's what made me get into just collecting Pan books in general then. So there, that's come up really nice. Let's have a look at this one without the dust wrapper on. And it's an absolute beauty, absolutely beautiful book. This is King Penguin number 66. They only did, I think, 76 King Penguin books, and you can just see the quality, just stunning plates in the back of the book here. They're beautiful. And then the first part of the book is the text. It's just 28 pages there of text. Really, really good, and all sort of manner of subjects. Some are rarer than others. So thankfully I have got most of the super rare ones. The most valuable ones I've already got. It is just a few which are sort of in the medium, I would say, but probably books like this particular one we've just cleaned up, which are scarce. You just have to be patient and wait for one to turn up at a half decent price. Right, there's the Margaret Drabble, which I wasn't really sure I was even going to bother keeping, to be honest, but it has got just a tiny bit of a pencil in the corner there, probably from when it was picked up by someone at a charity shop, or Goodwill as you call them in the States. I was a little disappointed with this one. It will go in the collection as a filler because it is one that I haven't got. It is what it is, I suppose. In fact, what I think I'm going to do, because these are their own particular size, I'm just going to give these the treatment and get any dust off the top there. They're actually not too bad, those. You would be surprised sometimes. They're awful, come off in plumes of dust, And in fact, I'll do all these three before I go any further. Yeah, there's quite a bit on those. Let's see. Okay. Right, so the Margaret Drabbles have been rubbed. So this was the puffin. And this was quite faint, but it was there, like a little £2 or something in the very faintly there, which I quite like to get off. There we are. I'm just sort of pinching it there and there, putting pressure, and then rubbing in the middle, and that seems to do the trick. And that was all good to go. I got these two pelicans now, because these are wartime, and you can see the paper is just super thin because they were printed during the Britain in the Blitz, and there was massive paper rationing going on. So these are going to be extra careful to get these clean. Now, that one's got an owner's signature on there, so I'm not going to be able to do anything about that, but there is a little number there, and that is what I'm looking to get out. But I'm going to be extra careful on this one, because if I'm not, I could tear the page. Literally, they're that delicate. But thankfully it's not too deep, so it's looking all right at the moment. Is it going to be okay? It is. Yeah, there we are. That one's come up okay. And I got another one which must have been from the same collection, because it's got a very similar number on it, and that's that one there, the KC271, whatever that was. To me it looks like a charity shop code of some sort to keep a track on their stock, but I may be wrong. Once again, a light rub is all that needed really, and it's gone. There we are. And this one, although it's got that fragile cover, there really isn't much else I can do with it, so I'm just going to leave that as is for now. It is only a Pelican, and they're not exactly mega valuable or anything like that, you know. So this next one then, this was the Aldous Huxley. Now this had that really awful sort of top, so I'm going to have a look and see if the old toothbrush method is going to be enough to get some of this mess off, because you see it's just awful, isn't it, you know? So let's just have a look, hold the book secure and see if it makes any sort of difference. Some of it's come off. It's like it's got wet somehow. Very, very unusual to have this sort of a mess on a book, and ordinarily I wouldn't even bother entertaining keeping something like this in my collection, but I thought for the benefit of today as well, in particular, it'd be good just to see how, if I could make any sort of progress on it. I've certainly got some of it off. It's not too bad. Now I'm going to give it a bit of a rub along here as well. This might just lift a little bit of it off as well. It's like it was splattered with tea or something. I mean, really unusual sort of mess, to be honest. Okay. Let's try that on the front side, because that does look a little bit better, to be honest. Whether it will do the same on this side, take a bit of the ancient muck off. Hopefully it's not going to make it worse, but as I said, I did actually only want this one as a reader. But even so, I want it looking as nice as I can. Yeah, it looks to be certainly a lot smoother. Whatever muck was on the front there is sort of off as much as I can make it without going too deeply into it. And then you can also rub the top, if I can just get close enough. Have to really put pressure on there. At least it won't feel as dirty as it did beforehand, because it did feel really, really disgusting. Bit of a just retrieve my toothbrush, and we give this one a final. So that, although the stain is still there, it's much better than it was, and the book is actually just about presentable to read now. I don't think I'll feel too bad about giving that one a read because I've cleaned it up as much as I can. And it's actually a vast improvement, that, so I don't mind that at all. So that's pretty good. That's those ones done. Now I've just got a couple more before we start spraying on the later ones. So what was the thing with these then? So these didn't have anything to rub out. These just had the odd turned over page, which I'm a bit of a stickler for that. So I just like to go through. I don't like turned over pages. I will use a bookmark. Simple as that. There we are. That was all that was needed on that one. It's sort of borderline whether to have that one in the collection, but I'm going to keep it for now. And it was a similar story with this penguin here, this pelican book. This one had loads of turned over pages. So that's going to take me some time. So I'm going to pause there and do that. I won't bore you with that bit. Right, so I've taken the time and gone through that as best I can. Still a couple of corners that are being a bit stubborn, but it's looking a lot better than it did. There we are. And I will once again give these two just a bit of a dusting off the top there, like so. Right, so the next thing might seem a little unorthodox to some collectors, but I wouldn't do it with all my books, but I am going to do it with these. And that's because these particular books have a glossy cover. So let me reposition the camera and we're going to get spraying. So I just use ordinary sort of polish, furniture polish. And there's not a lot in here, but I use my most worn in sort of soft duster. So it's not like a brand new duster which you've had, which you might buy in a shop today. It's actually quite thin, this one, and it means I can get real good sort of purchase on a book in a particular area. If you use a modern sort of bright yellow duster, they don't tend to be so good in my experience, but that may be just me. But I think the older and more worn your duster, it seems the better they work, Now, because I've not got a great deal of polish left, I've left these few books that I'm going to give a polish to, and I just grab a corner, and it needs to be up high like that, and I've wetted a corner down, as you can see, and I just dab it in a bit like so. So it's damp, but it's not too damp because the actual duster absorbs some of it. And I'll just try and use for today this corner here. Now if you remember, it looked like wax or something on the front there, so I'm going to just see by doing the polish if it's going to make any sort of difference to the overall appearance of this book, and if it will take it off, or if I'm just going to have to live with it. Yeah, I can still see where they were, but it does look a bit cleaner for sure. Just leave that aside. Do the spine. And the back cover as well, and this, believe me, this is taking off all manner, because this is a book that came out in the 1960s. We're now in 2020, so it's over 50 years old already, and it's had 50 years worth of dirt and grime. Now look at that, look at the dirt that's come off the back of that, but look, it's come out really nice, that. Now those bits, as I was a bit worried about, because it's wax, even though I've cleaned it right up and the rest of the book is looking lovely, those wax bits have, I guess it's hot wax, so they must have sort of burnt it. There is one other thing I can do, because I'm not going to put any more polish on, and this is a trick that I learned when I was cleaning British annuals, and that is just putting a little bit of spill on a dot like that, and then using your rubber often can often clean a book up. So I just did that one spot as an experiment. Is that any better or not? Well, it is. I think that has improved it slightly. So I'm going to do the same with that spot there. A little dab of spit, and then just a little rub on there. Ever so light, I'm not putting much pressure on. just trying to rub it and see if it makes a bit of a difference. And I'll rub it off again with the duster. Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. One more tiny one here. Let's give that one a go. Right, let's try that one with the duster. Yeah, that's come up pretty darn good. So I've actually only got, see in the light I can just see one there. I've got that one. So there's that last big one which is right on his leg there, you can see it. So I put some spit on. Bit disgusting, but I'm hoping this is a little bookseller trick I picked up many years ago when I used to deal in second-hand books, amongst other things. You wouldn't want to risk it on something really expensive, would you? But on this book, I don't mind giving it a try because it's for everyone's benefit, let's say. Okay, well, that's actually come out pretty darn good, hasn't it? I'm actually really pleased with that. So I'm just going to give this a little bit more. I'm really pleased how that's come up. So as you can see, under the light you can just about pick up where those wax drops were. But apart from that, that book has come up absolutely spanking. Really pleased with that one. So that's that one done. Now these ones were absolutely fine as I recall. Did they need any rubbing? No. So these just need a bit of a polish on just to get any surface knock off. So I'm gonna give that a bit of a refresh. It's already a bit impregnated with the polish, so it shouldn't take too much. This is a nice book. The Knotted Snark, The Hunting of the Snark, by Lewis Carroll. These 60s penguins in B format are quite tough to find in nice condition, and not just that, they had a penchant for doing lots of them with black covers like this one, so it makes them even harder to find in really nice nick. And I reckon there's loads I'm missing from my collection that Penguin published pre like 1970, but that is the joy with Penguin, in that there's so much to go through if you collect by publisher like I do. There's always something there to enjoy. I remember when I worked in the book trade, I did a signing with Terry Waite, who was captured. He was the Archbishop of Canterbury's envoy, and he was, where was he again? Was it Palestine or somewhere like that? And he was captured and held captive for, it was the best part of 5 years, a lot of the time chained to a flipping radiator. And he was begging his captors for some books, and they brought him a box of books, but they were all in Arabic, so he couldn't read any of them. And then he said, these are no good, I can't read them. And then they came in and they gave him a box of Penguin books, if you can believe it, and his heart was like lifted, because he knew when he was given that box of Penguin books that he had some good reading ahead of him. And I think there was a mixture of some classics and some really old titles. He said he absolutely loved it, and I remember chatting to him about it. He couldn't really remember any of the titles. He just sort of said there was a whole load of the classics, and he worked his way through them bit by bit, and he said they really helped him through his time in captivity. And I think that's a really good sort of testament to the quality of the Penguin list. It's always been better quality fiction and non-fiction. when they do it. Now this was one which I wasn't sure how this one's going to come out. This is Kafka's America. Now this one actually had, before I get rubbing, it still had this one needed a price sticker taking out, a price inside in pencil. So I'm going to take that out first of all, because this one is, I believe, quite scarce, you know. And then it looks as if it might be difficult to pick up on camera, but they've done a blimmin' S right in the middle. Really annoying. Did they not know I wanted this for my collection? Evidently not. So this is a bit tricky because it's right in the middle of the page. So I'm being very gentle, making sure I don't damage the book in any way. I've only got a few left to do. But I sort of do this process probably once every month or so, or every couple of months. And once I've done this, I'll take all the penguins and I shall put them in front of the computer, and I'll record all the ones that I've got, and I'll update all my wants lists and things like that. So I do try and keep an accurate, up-to-date list of everything else. You're just going to get into a world of agony. And maybe in a future video, if people are interested, I'll show you how I sort of catalogue my paperback collection, because it's something that you really, really need to keep on top of if, like me, you're a big paperback collector. So let's just give this one a bit of a wipe. Not sure how well this is going to come up, but I think it should be better than how it's looking at the moment, which is quite mottled, like it's been stored in not the greatest of environments. So we'll give it a bit of a clean up and see how we get on here. Yeah, it's not really making much of a difference on this that I can see anyway, but I would imagine when we look at the state of the duster in a minute, we'll see quite a bit of muck that's been taken off. Yeah, look at that. It's almost black. So there was a lot of dirt on that, even if you couldn't see it. Look at that spine though, it's perfect, it's almost unread. Bright orange like that. Of course, one thing you'd find with older books, if they've been on the shelf for a long time, is that if the people who'd owned it had been smokers, then the spines tended to get stained with yellow nicotine, which was no good at all for housing a collection of books, because they all get smelly and that. And that's why you often see people on eBay saying from a smoke and pet free home. Not all pets smell, but some do, I admit. But the smoking is quite a big deal, isn't it? Anyway, that's come up. That's about as good as I'm going to get it. It's a rare book, that. It's the first copy I've ever had through my hands. 1967. Yeah. Franz Kafka's America. Quite a rare old book. An Immigrant's USA in the unique vision of the trial in the castle. Brilliant. There it is. Right, just a couple more to do. So we got that Edge book, Edge, A Man Alone. What a great series this is. There's not a great deal I can do inside on this one, but there was that mark on the back that I was hoping to be able to get off. So I'm going to give myself another bit of a squirt. Let that soak in a moment. And fingers crossed I'll be able to... in fact, I'm going to start on the back first, because I think that's the bit that needs the most attention. So it's not immediately lifting off, unfortunately. I don't know exactly what it is. Got a bit. Not that it matters. I mean, these age books aren't, particularly these mid-30s ones, they're not exactly expensive. The tail end ones are quite pricey nowadays because they had lower print runs. But I'm slowly getting quite a nice collection of the age books, and I'm working my way through reading them. They are quick reads. You can do them in a couple of hours each one. I certainly enjoy them. Looking ever so closely at that, I just can't see what's caused it, but I'm going to do the rest of the book, and then I'm going to come back and do the old rubber trick again and see if that manages to lift off that little blemish, whatever it might be, because I'm not 100% sure even what it is. but the covers come out really, really nice. If you've never tried the Edge series, they're extremely accessible, and I certainly recommend them, even if you're not a fan of westerns. Right, let's give it a bit of spittle there. See if this does make any difference at all. It's a difficult one. The thing is, I don't really know what caused the mess to begin with. Who can tell? I mean, even this is almost 50 years old. Sort of mid 70s, this one. It's almost gone, so I've had some success with it. Sometimes patience is a virtue, but I don't want to overdo it and cause the cover to rip or anything like that. But I have a feeling that may be as good as I can get it. But that's still miles better than what it was, wasn't it? That doesn't look too bad at all. That's good enough for the old collection, that, by all means. And then this one, I'm not even going to put any extra polish on this one because it's not quite as glossy as the Edge books. It's just going to take off a little layer of surface dirt. I've already compared this one to the one in my collection, and this one was actually inferior. But you'd be surprised even by doing this, the amount of dirt and rubbish you get off these is quite incredible. Yeah, look at the state of that. We've only done these few books. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to give these the treatment. So these two B format ones. I'm going to get any top dirt off those. And then these A format paperbacks, normal size ones. Same thing with them. There you are. They look good, don't they? They look good. And that just leaves one book. Now this is the one with the loose cover. So I shall make a bit of room and then we'll have a look and see what we can do with that one. Right then, so here we are, The Penguin Heath Robinson, an absolutely gorgeous cartoon book. However, this copy, alas, is not in the greatest of shape. And as I showed you at the start, the first block has come out, and you'll see it's sort of, you got the elements of glue. It's like rusty and dirty and that. So what I'm going to do, the rest of it, the other portion that's left, actually seems quite well bound in the book. So my options are to take it out, to sort of get rid of this middle section and rebind it, or, which is what I think I'm going to do in this particular case, since it's still quite well done, I'm going to clean that up there. I'm going to clean this bit up here, and then I'm going to re-glue it. That is the plan. All right, so the way I'm going to get rid of this old glue down here is with one of these. So this is a craft knife that you pick up in a craft shop, and as you can see, it's got a very sharp blade. All right, and what I'm going to do is just try and gently, if I can, take off any sort of surface bits and bobs, because it's almost like rust. This old glue has rusted away, as you can see, but I don't want to make too much of a mess, but I just want to make sure any sort of loose bits have been sort of scraped off first of all. Doesn't seem too bad on the actual book here. Right, I think that's about as good as we're going to get that bit. And on the actual block here, it's sort of the same situation really. If I run the knife along it, it might struggle. So I don't want to do that. But before I pop it back into the book, ever so faintly there. There's a little like 3 of some sort and something over here, so I want to get rid of that. So I'm just going to take out that little 3 there, like so. And I'll do this little corner here, like so. Yeah, that's all right. Now I'm going to need to glue this back in. So the best way I can do it, I think, is with some Pritt stick and then push this bit of the spine back in with the hope that it's going to keep it in place. It's not ideal by any means, but I don't think there's any other way around it in this particular case. So I've got some Pritt stick here, and what I want to do, I'm going to run it right the way along the spine bit here. So we've got a nice connection there, like so. Let's pop that over there a second. And then somehow I need to get it into the little groove where it's going to be sat. So I'm just going to gently run it along there. Now I definitely wouldn't recommend, personally, anything other than something like Pritt stick. I wouldn't recommend the cheaper brands that you can get in somewhere like, Poundland or something like that. They're just not any good. They're really not. So get a decent one like a Pritt stick. This will be absolutely good for what we're looking to do here. All right. Been quite generous with the Pritt stick there. Now we're going to want to get it as square as possible in line with the rest of the book, which it now is, like so. And then you need to push the spine in and basically push that block into the spine. So it's a bit of a fiddly process, but the ultimate result should be pretty good. So it's one of these It's not going to be perfect, but in this particular case, I don't think there was anything better we could have done without taking the whole block out and re-gluing it that way. And I didn't really think it justified doing that. But it's one of those ones, because of its age, it is 50 plus years old. It's just going to be, unless you've got a brand new one, you're just going to have to put up with this occasionally, So that's in as best I actually can on that one. Now I'm a little bit loath to open it, but you can see it's a much better sort of fit than it was. And over time that the Pritt stick will harden up and it should sort it out. It's not perfect, but it's perhaps as good as I can do. The only thing we haven't done with this one, and I'm not going to put any extra polish on because there's already some on the duster, is just give this little duster a once over on this book now, just to give it a bit of shine. This was the last sort of finishing touch, really. And that's about as good as we're going to get this one. If you've never read any Heath Robinson, famous for his madcap invention cartoons, he comes highly recommended. Right, so there we are. That is it for today. So I hope you have enjoyed watching me go through and clean my latest acquisitions, and I hope you've picked up a few tips yourself with regards cleaning your vintage paperbacks. If you have enjoyed this video, do please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see me do some more of these every month or two, do leave a comment below, and I'll certainly have a think about it if you have enjoyed it. Do please consider subscribing for regular vintage paperback content, and I shall look forward to seeing you all again very soon. Bye.